And now for Turkey. So, as I was trying to perhaps jump into a bit quicker than I should have following the Cenk video, it's not just Cenk Uyghur taking notice of the atrocity that was committed there. You also have other governments, such as the Turkish government, that took serious offense to this. And now Turkey, although they haven't, let's just say, gone nuclear, they have heavily ramped up their rhetoric and ramped up some of the anti-Israel actions in the region. On August 26th, open source intelligence stated, quote, Turkey barred an Israeli-owned ZIM ship from docking at Istanbul port, redirecting it to the Piraeus port in Greece. This reflects a new policy banning all vessels linked to Israel, including those under the Israeli flag or owned by Israeli firms, from Turkish ports. On August 28th, following this escalation, the same envoy to Syria that I had mentioned earlier, Tom Barak, stated, quote, Turkey has been a fantastic ally. Turkey is also misunderstood, and Turkey is our largest NATO ally. So now America is having to sort of play both sides and try to appease Turkey and Israel simultaneously, which is extremely difficult because as Israel goes on to destabilize the Middle East, that is the Turkish homeland. So Turkey has to respond accordingly to the Israeli aggression in the region, and whether or not the United States decides to side more with Turkey or Israel is sort of TBD. I would have to guess, with them being the largest NATO ally, that they will do their best to sort of stay out of it entirely and allow Turkey to do what it needs to, as long as they don't interfere with military force. On August 29th, the Turkish foreign minister, in reference to the recent Israeli shipping bans, said, quote, we have decided to cut off all economic and trade relations with Israel and closed our skies to its planes, highlighting existing heroic measures against Israel, including the closure of Turkish airspace to Israeli military flights, which has been in place for some time. Turkish diplomatic source said, quote, closing the airspace to Israel is related to government flights and flights carrying weapons or ammunition. And then Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is the Israeli Minister of National Security, following Turkey putting these into effect, said that Turkey is equivalent to Hamas. So, in other words, Ben-Gvir, the national security minister for Israel, is saying that Turkey is effectively a terrorist state because they're cutting off Israeli trade in the region. September 1st, Turkish President Erdogan said, we will continue to oppose any attempt that threatens the security and territorial integrity of our neighbor Syria. Turkey then reportedly was set to expand its military presence in northern Cyprus from 40,000 to 100,000 soldiers, citing growing threat from Israel. And that's not only while Israel continues to expand its military presence in the region, that's also why, or also as we had stated earlier, and as I showed you on the map overview, that's as Azerbaijan starts to make these U.S.-led peace deals with Armenia and Georgia that are on the northeastern border of Turkey. So Turkey's really, and this is why they're ramping up this aggression, if you can call it aggression. It is aggression, it's just not outright military aggression. That is why I just lost my train of thought, guys. Sorry. We're pretty much at the end of this, but you get what I'm trying to say. Turkey, they're getting squeezed from both sides. You have Israel and all of the states that it's disabling to its western border, and then on its northeastern border, you have Israel and U.S. led talks between Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia that are sort of putting Turkey in this weird place where it feels like it's sort of being entrapped.